Hey everyone, my name is Puneeth Upadhyay, and I graduated with my master's degree in material science and engineering at Georgia Tech. I'm currently a design assurance engineer, which is similar to quality engineering at Boston Scientific, which is a company that manufactures medical devices to treat debilitating and life-threatening conditions, including severe heart problems, which is the area that my role in particular focuses on. So as a design assurance engineer, I work cross-functionally with R&D, manufacturing, marketing, and other teams to ensure that our products meet the safety and performance requirements to ultimately protect our patients. So specifically, my responsibilities include conducting failure investigations, monitoring complaints for already released products, and conducting risk assessments to ensure that our products are safe, reliable, and effective to treat our patients. My motivation for pursuing this role stemmed from my senior design capstone project and my general desire to help others in need. My capstone project involved developing a medical device prototype that allowed medical professionals to administer chest compressions while the defibrillator continued to apply an electric shock. The idea that our prototype could be used to save lives regarding a prominent heart issue was super inspiring, and so I wanted to pursue a full-time role in the same industry. I realized that very few people that I knew ended up in the medical device industry as an MSE, so I realized I could use my materials background to provide a unique perspective within the medical device space. At the moment, I primarily work with diagnostic catheters, which can identify where a blockage like plaque buildup occurs within a vessel, as well as how severe it is by capturing a 360-degree image within that vessel. So without going into too much detail, the catheters are made of a plastic product, and the diagnostic aspect is actually made of a ceramic piezoelectric material. So as a result, I've had to access my knowledge of polymer science as well as ceramics engineering to get a grasp of how the product truly works. Fundamentals like piezoelectric properties, glass transition temperature, and crystal structure deformation have all been concepts that I've had to learn to understand how a product may fail and in what circumstances that may occur. So as a result, my failure analysis experience also comes in handy. All right, let's dive into actionable strategies that helped me land this job offer in particular. I'll lay out a blueprint of my past skills and experiences that were asked about specifically by recruiters and hiring managers, and feel free to refer to my resume as well. Number one, my medical device capstone project. Product development and prototyping experiences are actually quite useful in quality engineering interviews in the medical device space, specifically because of something called the ISO 13485 design controls. This is an international quality standard that all medical device companies must follow when designing a new product. They actually go hand in hand with the product development process, so I was able to translate some of my experiences in gathering user needs, developing test methods, and verifying that our product meets those user needs into related keywords like design inputs, verification and validation, and design outputs. If you'd like to enter the medical device industry, I highly recommend reading into ISO 13485 design controls. Number two, statistical analysis and process capability analysis. I've honestly found that statistical analysis experiences are highly sought after in the industry, particularly for manufacturing engineer, process engineer, and quality engineer roles. During my internship at GE Aviation, I conducted a process capability analysis using Microsoft Excel, which basically told us how many products fall within a set upper and lower limit during manufacturing. I've been asked about this experience multiple times during interviews, so I highly recommend reading into this process and seeing if you have any experiences that are even remotely similar. If not, there's a workaround. Usually as students, we get access to LinkedIn Learning, so I'd recommend looking up a Minitab course And after getting a grasp of it, conducting a simple process capability analysis so that you can include these keywords in your resume. Now time for number 3, leadership experiences. Recruiters love to see leadership experiences in your resume, and this can be extremely helpful come interview time. So for example, in behavioral interviews, you can craft stories from your experiences as an exec board member in a student organization to talk about a time that you failed or a time where you had to work with someone who's difficult. Trust me, leadership experiences and work experiences are 10 times more important than your GPA, so try to find a good balance between studying and being active in clubs. Let's get into 3 main characteristics that successful quality engineers possess. You can use this information and tie it in with your own personal experiences during interviews and throughout your resume to show you'd be a great fit. Number 1, inability to solve problems while operating in a gray area. Although there are several standards in this realm, you often have to make decisions when there's no clear-cut right or wrong answer. Number 2, inability to communicate cross-functionally. As a quality engineer, I work with manufacturing, R&D, technicians, marketing, and more. If you have any experiences talking with administration, coordinating with other organizations, or working with other majors, be sure to include that in your resume. And finally, number 3, an extreme attention to detail. If you have any experience analyzing reports or following standards or test methods, then that may be something to include in your resume. All right, let's wrap this up by talking about job search strategies. I know this process can be grueling, and I want to make sure that you're applying efficiently and intelligently. Please, please, please don't apply to hundreds and hundreds of jobs online and just hope for the best. So here are a few strategies that have worked for me, and I hope they work for you. Number 1, and honestly most importantly, conduct informational interviews and don't be afraid to reach out to strangers on LinkedIn. Through my 50+ hours of networking, I found that MSEs are most likely to successfully enter the medical device industry by applying to quality engineer, design assurance engineer, and manufacturing engineer roles in particular. You can start by looking in your own network. So if it were me, I would start with LinkedIn and click on My Network and then use the Advanced Filters tool. So first, I would look for people who are in roles that I may be interested in, like quality engineer or manufacturing engineer. Also, I would look for people in companies that I'm targeting, such as Medtronic, Boston Scientific, Abbott, Stryker, or Edwards Life Sciences, just to name a few. And also, to find people that are outside of your network, I would recommend going to your target company's LinkedIn page and then clicking on the People's tab. There, I can search for terms such as materials engineer or quality engineer, and I can just start to invite people, even if I don't know them. So a little trick that I use is I just invite people that are interesting to connect without adding a note. So that may seem a little bit counterintuitive, but I found that these people may just accept these connections because there's no commitment that goes alongside it. Whereas if I include it in notes, then they may be more hesitant to actually want to help. And then finally, once they accept the invitation to connect, I can write a longer message that's not restricted by a character limit. So that always helps in generating and scheduling these informational interviews. I want to make it clear that in these informational interviews, you have to be genuinely interested in them and what they do. Your goal can't be to escape with the lead or a job offer. It has to be to develop a relationship with them and learn more about the role to see if you'd be a good fit. I'd recommend asking what their typical responsibilities are on a week-to-week basis, or what 3 characteristics do successful people in their role possess. If all goes well, then you can ask for recommendations on who to talk to learn about the culture of the company. In an ideal world, you could get the contact info for the hiring manager or a recruiter. But it's up to you to do your own research beforehand to see about the positions that are available at their company. However, it's not their responsibility to do that research for you, so I just wanted to make that clear. This leads me to number 2. So if you do happen to get the contact info for a recruiter and or a hiring manager, then I'd recommend showing you understand the role and what it takes to be successful by crafting and sending them a short presentation. I started by explaining my motivation for applying for this role and for this company in particular. I then followed that up by including Boston Scientific's values and explaining what they meant to me, and also sometimes including a little bit of my own experiences. I then talked about the specific group and the division a little bit and what I found interesting about their work. But now here comes the most important part. I included a table where the left-hand column was each of the characteristics that are required to be successful in this role, and I gathered all of this information from taking notes during my informational interviews. In the right-hand column, I included 1 to 2 bullet points that reflected my personality traits and my past experiences to show that I would be a good fit for this role and that I would be successful as a quality engineer. I finally ended with a differentiation slide. I thought about what can I bring to Boston Scientific that would provide a unique perspective to the team. Remember, as MSEs, you inherently have differentiating value, so make sure to take advantage of that during your resume, during your interviews, and even during these little emails that can set all of that up. Number 3, be able to explain the bullet points on your resume in greater detail during an interview. So in my preliminary interviews for full-time roles, the hiring manager or the recruiter would ask me to elaborate on specific bullet points. So fortunately for me, I created a Google Doc and used the STAR method to write 1 paragraph for each bullet point, and I was able to use that as a cheat sheet during these phone call interviews. And finally, number 4, you can truly differentiate yourself if you incorporate your MSE background in your resume with the traits required to be successful. So let's get into some examples. So number 1, interfaced with customer support and manufacturing teams and conducted root cause analysis of polymer failure. So here I showed that I can collaborate cross-functionally and also use my MSE background to help the company. And then analyzed Minitab plots to interpret correlation between 3 process parameters and machine reliability of 3D printers. So here you see I at least quantified the results of my actions in some way and revealed my experience with Minitab, however little it was. And then finally, translated user needs from 3 physician interviews into technical specifications for the material selection process. So again, I show an ability to communicate with non-engineering functions and use that information to select the appropriate material. So many companies don't quite know what exactly MSEs do and how they can be helpful, so it's important that we show them through our resume and our past experiences. That's it for the design assurance engineer role in the medical device industry. Remember to be smart about how you apply to jobs and take advantage of your network and your major. Feel free to use the resources provided along with this video, and good luck. You got this.